I kind of shifted from Kerala, from a small little town to a big city, mega city like Delhi, and that too was for the post graduation. So then I stayed on. I never came back to the place where I was from. So I think these shifting from one place to another had kind of gone. I mean, I had a kind of a great transformation while doing it, and when I was looking at any big cities in India, coming from a small place, and you see that there is a lot to. I mean, we can be a foreigner in our own country at any point of time. That's one interesting factor. Then I was overwhelmed by the kind of presence of the people and the social ways in which people are kind of grouped together or made their work and living. So I mean, especially Delhi has become, you could say that it's a microcosm of the whole India in that sense. So you have people coming from all over India to work there. So I think this set of works has come out from sheer observations and certain set of setbacks or shocks which I had gone through while started living in Delhi. So, and mainly all these works which has a lot to do with the space around where I was living, and also people whom I met and interacted, and it has been something which has been piled up for a longer period of time to get to a culmination point where some of this has come out. So especially when I look at things like I was always interested in architectural structures in the urban space, and also how the architecture and the social life get along, or how it also gets separated in places where there are weird structures where you don't even want it to be. So there are things which connect or disconnect in terms of your structural space as well as your social space, and then you also see a level of hierarchy in terms of the social space, and it's not just only caste, it could be class, it could be all other kinds of even a language group, because there are even one could live in Delhi without speaking Hindi for years. Maybe if you have your own regional people are living in one particular sector, so you could live there forever. So it's so there are many issues in connection with the social structure as well as the class and caste hierarchy, which is so strong and evident in a place like Delhi. That is something which I was quite attracted towards, and I know that many things which you try to understand. That's something which you try to understand. That's where your work born, in a sense that you try to grapple with it and you try to make the sense of it. Then, if you make a sense out of it, that's where something you get extracted out from that particular space. That somehow become your artwork. So in this, I have about these 3 photographic works. One is the Someone Left a Horse on the Shore, which was done in 2007. Was part of many works I've been doing in connection with the city and especially Delhi. And this one was a Trojan Horse. As you know, the story of this Trojan Horse, it also a story of betrayal in one sense, and it also a story of occupation and taking over the space or the land. So I kind of converted, or in a way, the myth of Trojan Horse has been converted into a real-time reality factor, where Delhi is being under over-constructions since more than 10 or 15 years. Now, the 15 years ago, the Delhi was quite different. The Delhi now you see is drastically different and changed, though it's still under construction. And it is going to be like that for another 15 or 20 years for sure. So what you see that the peripheries are getting taken over by the land mafias, that's one thing. I'm not specifically, taking a position of being a social activist in that sense, but I was always interested in how these spaces are being taken over and get into the mode of gated communities, and how then it goes on forever. Especially Delhi has no borders in the sense. Delhi is a landlocked place, and almost the land is the limit. I would say when we say the sky is the limit, the land is the limit for Delhi to grow in surroundings. So the place where this horse was placed was almost like I stay in one end of the city in a way. It's at the northwest of Delhi I live. So nearby area in which I do travel a lot around the city and a little outside as well. So I do see interesting sites and bizarre landscapes where things are being, you could see a temple which is just erected in 2 days. Before you were traveling, there was nothing was there, then you see something else happening there. So a sense of kind of surreal effect you gone through and you experience it while you travel around these peripheries of the city. So that's something which triggered me to make something for the space and place it over, take photograph and bring it back to the space where it is going to be exhibited. So this has been and one exercise I've been doing it for the time being. So Trojan Horse came one of the structure, and also the electric light, as well as the wheel. The wheel was in connection with another show I did in Bombay, which was actually I did these 2 shows one after another. It's two solo exhibitions, mainly connected with the cityscapes. And the first one was called Absence of an Architect, which was all about Delhi. And the second show was titled Amusement Park. So it is in a way an extension of the Absence of an Architect. So this wheel was part of the second show. What I did in the Absence of the Amusement Park is that I kind of conceptualized the whole city or urban space as an amusement park. So it's a place. So I got taken elements which are Ferris wheels or boats or whatever the ride components which you can fix it in a park. So then I made the wheel which also has a motor in it and which can run, and it's about 12 feet height, and which also has, instead of boxes, instead of baskets on which people would sit, there are apartments which runs through. So in one level, it's actually completely an imaginary territory of being with oneself or being with the family in a city like mega cities like city like Bombay or Delhi. On the other hand, it's also about the habit in which we are addicted and which probably go on for some time, and we never know when the ride stops, and we are on a ride on a level and in which we never knew it. So it has its own symbolic connections as well as a real space and living feeling attached to it. In fact, the wind chime was actually made in I think in 2008 as an idea. It came to me, and which was made as a digital image which I had done in a workshop in Calcutta, where the theme was migration. So I just went around and see the colonial graveyards in Calcutta and just did a lot of photographs of the different structures of the graveyard. And quite interestingly, there are that itself has become an architectural study plan. In a way, you look at it in terms of the different times in which all these people were died and the structures were made. Then I used them to make the wind chime, just to connect with that wind chime has a resonance. It creates sound. It creates also it has shape, and it moves, and the waves and the resonance somehow connect with a past time which is colonial in one sense, especially that is more important in Calcutta in that sense. So then that wind chime idea was kind of constant, and I had also done another painting of the same. Then the sculptural form came now. So it's almost the extension of the same thing, but obviously this time it's not graveyard, it's all different buildings which are part of the wind chime, which I thought it's also very well connected with the urban areas and the future of the the community living spaces which we all inhabit in different levels, and it could be a mental space, it could be an architectural space, it could be a space in between, so you never know. So some of these are the concerns when I think or conceive the wind chime. Things are hanging down from nowhere in one sense, and there is a kind of shield-like structure on top, which also stands nowhere. So it's in a way, in one sense you connect yourself with a structure which you live with, and on the other side you never know where you exactly move with that structure ever. So are you ever grounded to anything or to hold on to anything? So it's a kind of a perpetual understanding about one's own being in the space in one sense. So that's how I see this wind chime.